Your color grade can be perfect, but your photo still fall flat. And most photographers will never figure out why. Here's what's actually happening. You finish your color grade, you look at your image, but you just feel like it doesn't pop. I mean, yeah, technically it's correct and all the colors are there, the tones are right, but it doesn't really have that full weight of impact that you're looking for. So you're thinking, okay, well, I guess I just better go back into the HSL or start pushing my tone curve. You're like, maybe I'll lower the exposure or push different colors in the shadows. But nothing's gonna move the needle because your problem isn't in the color grade. The problem is that your photo hasn't been directed yet. See, a color grade sets the mood of a photo, but it doesn't tell the viewer's eye where to naturally look when they see your photo. And without that direction and deliberately pulling the attention towards the subject and pushing it away from everything else in the frame that you don't want them to look at, you'll feel like your photo is like right there, but you just can't get it perfect. But the one tool that fixes this is masking. And before you click away because you think that this is too basic, hear me out. Because the way that most photographers are using masks is completely different from what I'm about to show you. Most photographers will use masks to correct their problems, like fixing an overexposed sky or even recovering shadows. But that's reactive masking. They're fixing what went wrong. But what I'm talking about is intentional masking. That's like using light, shadow, and color to selectively direct attention to where you want your viewer to look in the frame. Not fixing problems, but to create impact. And this is the difference between a photo that looks fully, finely finished and a photo that just kind of feels finished. But let me show you exactly what I'm talking about here. I'm gonna open up a photo that already has a strong color grade. And I'm gonna show you what it looks like with masks and without masks, and how I use the mask to direct and guide attention to my subject. And I want you to watch specifically where your eye goes at each version of the process. Okay, so we have this photo here, and technically the colors look great. And they line up perfectly with a split complementary look because my highlights are sitting somewhere in here. My red from the bike is sitting somewhere around here. And then the sky is sitting somewhere over across from these reds. And so that creates a bit of a triangle here, which is a split complementary. So technically, like I said, your colors can look great in a photo, but I feel like the attention isn't being fully drawn to the subject. And the main reason why is because our eyes are most attracted to the brightest parts of a scene and the most saturated parts of a scene. So, yes, even though we do have this red popping here, I would say our eyes are being more drawn to the back part of the scene. And I don't feel like having the lower part of our scene this bright is also helping because it's not really guiding or directing attention to the subject. So, one of the things that you need to be thinking about when you're creating masks is how am I pushing attention to my subject? And so there needs to be one main focal point that you are drawing attention to. And we can do that by brightening up the subject. We can do that by darkening other parts of the frame. And we can do that by shaping light toward the subject themselves. So, first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with a subject selection mask. Now, I love to create a subject selection mask for almost all of my photos. And the reason why I like to do that is because I like to add a little bit more emphasis to them, whether that be through brightening them up a little bit through the exposure, whether that's creating a little bit more contrast, or even sometimes I'll add clarity. And I know some people are saying, oh, well, clarity adds sharpness, but clarity doesn't actually add sharpness. All that it does is it creates the gap in the separation between those really bright highlights and those really deep shadows, which can add a little bit more of that detail to the photo where it looks like it is sharp, but it's just outline detail. And so it's not actually adding overall sharpness. It's just adding more extreme contrast throughout those highlights and those shadows. That's kind of what creates that pop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by raising up the exposure. Now, this is one of the things that a lot of photographers get wrong, and a huge mistake that they make is they will overcorrect their masks. Now, obviously, nobody's going to push their exposure this high, but there are certain circumstances where people are going to like sit kind of at that little bit of a teetering balance point, maybe something like this. And they might keep their exposure high and they'll say, oh, okay, well, I'm just noticing that my shadows are getting a little washed out. So they're like, well, let me just remove some of the blacks. But the problem is when you start raising up some of these parts here and leaving your subject far too exposed, that actually separates them in a negative way from the frame, where they don't look like they actually fit in the scene. Because the goal and the objective of using a mask is to draw attention to a subject with believability. That is the biggest thing. And so most people are over brightening or over correcting their masks, and that doesn't fit with the rest of the scene. Like if we look at the subject here, that doesn't fit in with the midtones of the scene. we're not getting those highlights on the subject because the sun is over here on the left side of our frame, in behind the subject. And so that doesn't make sense for our subject to be this bright. They need to be as bright as what this section would be down here or the hills in behind. Having them this bright does not look realistic in the scene. So what we need to do is I'm going to reset everything here. And let me start by bringing up a little bit of the exposure. I'm going to bring up a little bit of shadows and then bring down the blacks. And so oftentimes you're doing a bit of a push-pull game where you're brightening up a part of the photo and then you're lowering it to keep some of those contrasts. And so I'm just going to raise up a little bit of shadows again, darken some of the blacks, raise up a little bit more of that overall exposure. Now let's see where we're at. Turn the eye off and on. Maybe that's a little bit too bright. So I'm going to deepen those shadows a little bit, lower some of the whites, raise up a little bit of the exposure, turn the eye off and on. Okay, perfect. So when I look at this section of the rider up in their helmet, that matches really well with the scene going on all around them. I feel like they pop enough, but not too much. And so what I'm going to do is come down at a little bit of clarity, because if we go too much, obviously, look at how much that just like creates a line around them, which we do not want that. So I'm just going to add a little bit here, go to around 14. Okay, so that's good, and that's done for our subject. So we're brightening them up to a point where it's believable, not overdone, but we are centering them as the main focal point. Now, you need to be thinking about how are we going to continue to guide and direct attention to the subject. Most likely, if you're watching this video, you can take a great photo, but the moment that you sit down to edit that photo, it never seems to look the way that you imagined it would. You're pushing sliders, chasing a look that you can never quite nail, and you're asking yourself, why isn't this working? Well, what if I told you it's not a talent problem? This is a system problem, and the cinematic blueprint fixes that. It is a complete editing system that takes you from a raw photo to a cinematic masterpiece. And it has a repeatable 4-phase framework that you can follow no matter the environment or the photo. So no more excuses and no more settling. I'm gonna be launching this soon, and the waitlist subscribers get 50% off the full price and full exclusivity before we go live. Links in the description, so you better lock this in. So I like to think about it in this way. I like to follow the natural highlights and I like to follow the natural shadows. And what I mean by that is, where are the natural shadows and where are the natural highlights in my photo that are going to help guide attention to the subject? And so let me show you what that means directly. So I'm going to start off by using a linear gradient, and I'm going to come out here a little bit, scale out, and I'm going to really feather in a mask from the bottom of the frame. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is because there's a shadow that would naturally come in from the bottom of the frame. And that could be different from the top of the frame because that's usually where your light comes in from in your light source. So we'll touch on when you want to brighten a mask versus darken a mask. But first, we're going to darken a mask here, and that's going to help to push attention to the subject. And the reason why is because this is actually darkening part of the frame, which, like we said, the darker the part of the frame is, the less attention gets drawn to it. The eye is directed to the brightest parts of the scene. So we want to darken this frame. Okay, so we're going to lower the exposure, lower the blacks here, lower some of those shadows. Okay, now people can really get to a point where they will make this fully dark and fully blacked out. And so the problem that can happen with that is you're losing a lot of detail. Even now, I feel like I'm losing a lot of detail. So I'm just going to scale back the mask a little bit because I still want to see what's going on in the rocks here. I feel like that adds to the frame. Having this detail here doesn't take away from the frame, but I feel like sometimes when you fully darken out those masks, then that almost doesn't look believable either, because you're like, okay, the rest of the scene's kind of bright here. What's going on with that part? Right? And so the eye's naturally drawn to that as a distraction. So we don't want to distract the viewer. We want to use them subtly to guide attention, right? Now, one of the things to note is when you're using a mask to darken a part of the scene, that's going to enhance the saturation of the colors in that space. And so what you'll need to do, which a lot of people miss, and why some of these masks can be noticeable, is you need to lower the saturation in that part of the scene. And you don't want to lower to the point of like where it's like nothing. You want to just lower it enough to where this part of the scene looks like it matches with this part of the scene where the saturation isn't too high, where these colors are obviously kind of on the muted side. And so we want to keep these within the same level and depth of saturation to match. And you're going to normally see that within like sections that are super colorful, like maybe you get your oranges or even your reds in some of these areas, right? And so you might have to lessen and deepen some of that saturation on those colors. But that's a good thing to note just for when you are darkening and deepening masks. Now, for the scene like this, I really, really want to darken these clouds in the back part of the scene. Now, I'm going to show you a pretty cool hack here. I'm going to use a linear gradient mask. And the reason why I use the linear gradient mask over any other mask in here is because they really fade nicely into the scene. Whereas when you're using a radial gradient or brush mask or all the different kinds of masks, sometimes they can create such harsh lines between them. And I know you can definitely feather out the masks so that they're not as noticeable, but I still like just the overall linear gradient in the frame. So my objective is to darken the sky to create a little bit more of a moody photo here. So what can happen when I lower the exposure here is this is affecting the subject. Now this looks really cool for the clouds, but it's also affecting the subject. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to subtract. I'm going to go to select subject, and boom, it just cut them out perfectly, which is crazy. And if it doesn't do it perfectly, what you can do, and you can actually check that here, you can just hover over this and it'll show you the mask of what it cut out. It did a great job. But if it didn't, you can go to subtract again and you can go to brush and like make sure you're on this minus brush here. And then you can go and you can click on where you want that to subtract. Okay, so now when I go to move out this mask a little bit deeper into the scene like this, something like this, our subject is not being affected. All that's being affected is what's in behind the subject, which is amazing. Love this technique. Okay, so I'm going to lessen and lower the blacks here, create that really deep dynamic sky. I'm going to bring out and extend out that mask a little bit. Okay, so you can see, even just from this standpoint right here, we are getting a lot of separation pointing to our subject. So the subject is brighter, and then we've got this part of the scene darkened, this part of the scene darkened. And those are two really, really great ways that we can kind of pinch our subject in the frame. Now, the last thing that we can do, and like I said, is we're going to direct attention with a brighter mask. And so what we're going to do is go to the radial gradient, direct attention to the subject, by stretching over top of them, really keeping that mask feathered. We're at 100% feather here. And so I'm going to raise up the exposure here. And now what can happen is you can see I'm losing a lot of the depth in the sky there. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower the blacks so that our blacks aren't getting washed out here. I'm going to lower some of those shadows, and I'm going to lower a bit of the whites just because when you bring up the exposure, it can bring up the overall highlight. And so I want to keep those whites nice and crushed because we want these whites here in the highlights to match what's going on here. And when we lower the white slider, that actually helps us to crush our highlights. Whereas if we use the highlight slider, all that's doing is just bringing down those highlights again. And we want to keep up the highlights because we want to make it look like the sun's coming through here, but we just want to make sure that those highlights look managed, not too bright to the eye like the rest of the scene. Now, from this point, we are losing a little bit of detail in the sky here. So I'm just going to bump up the clarity a little bit here just to create a little bit more detail going on right here. Okay, so let's turn this mask off and on, and you can see that this is directing light to our subject here. Okay, so let's turn all the eyes for the masks off here, and we'll see what this looked like before, and you're gonna see what it looked like after. Trust me, this is gonna blow your mind. When I saw this for the first time, I was like, whoa, that was a huge change. Okay, so take a look here. So I'm gonna turn the eye off, and I'm gonna turn the eye back on. What a difference. Wow. Let me zoom in all the way, turn the eyes off. This is what we started with. Color grade's technically perfect. Everything's looking great in the scene. It just doesn't fully pop. Now you add masks, boom. When you look at this photo, the first thing your eye goes to is going to be the subject. And that is exactly what you're going for. Darkening parts of the scene, darkening parts of the scene, brightening up other parts to direct attention to the subject. Now, not in all scenes are you going to use something like this where you're going to bring in light to the scene. I really only use that in a scene where I have the sun that's relatively close to the outside of the frame to direct and draw attention to the subject. That's honestly personal preference, but I don't like to get too crazy with that. But one of the things that you need to remember whenever you're using masks and to determine how to use masks and where to place them in the scene is based off of the natural light in the scene. You can see that we brought in a shadow from the bottom here because naturally there would be a shadow. This is the shadow side. We can obviously see that the sun is going on over here. And so we have shadows naturally on this side. So it doesn't get the viewer to think, wait, why is there a shadow there when maybe the sun was casting directly down, right? You want to make sure that your shadows are following the natural scene in the natural sequence. And even to make this sky look darker like this works perfectly because it looks like a storm was rolling in, which actually on the exact day it was rolling in. So I'm just following after the natural scene. In both of these masks, and even this one over here, are all believable because it looks like the sun is coming in from this direction, which is perfect. So I can highlight and accentuate that. And then we have this, which is darkening part of that scene to bring down those clouds. And then we've got this, which is darkening the lower part, directing attention to the subject. So this is the before, and then this is the after. Wow, so cool. So as you can see, the color grade sets the mood, your mask sets the direction, and both are extremely necessary. One without the other just seems to fall flat. And trust me, once you start using masks like this, you will notice a massive difference. You'll take your photos from that 90% to that 100%. All right, now if you're looking for more videos just like this, I think that you'll really like this one. So I'll see you over there. All right, peace.